Red and Gold says Jimmy G to the Broncos in 2022. Is Drew Lock in a make or break year? Year 3, might Rodgers want to go to the Broncos? Okay, let's go to the Denver Broncos. Will Denver trade for Jimmy Garoppolo?
No, I'm going to say no.
Why?
I mean, first, you look at the history of Denver quarterback. I mean, the only quarterback the only quarterback, but not just that, the only quarterback I can think of that had arm talent similar to Garoppolo is Jake Plummer.
Bridgewater. Well, yeah, Jake.
I mean, Drew Lock has a hose. Drew Lock has real serious arm talent.
He really does.
Peyton Manning, end of his career, obviously, it's worse arm talent than both Garoppolo and Plummer, but Peyton Manning in 2013, even off the neck, could make every throw. Then you look at Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler had an absolute cannon. Kyle Orton had a decent arm. It wasn't anything special, but he had a decent arm. So you go through their quarterbacks, it just doesn't make sense when you look at Denver's history with the physical profile of their quarterback, right? That's one thing. Then the second thing is they have Teddy Bridgewater on the roster right now, and Teddy Bridgewater has a cap hit of $4 million, okay?
Yeah.
That's cheap. That's very cheap, right?
Yeah.
And then this goes back to the same conversation.
Cheaper than Trey Lance.
Right?
Yeah.
This goes back to the same conversation as Fitzpatrick. Is Jimmy better than Teddy Bridgewater? No doubt. Undoubtedly better than Teddy Bridgewater. But if you can re-sign Teddy Bridgewater again one more year for $4 million to kind of act like a bridge, that changes the conversation. Second, and this is
you don't have to commit to Teddy Bridgewater. You have to kind of commit to Jimmy Garoppolo. You have to trade for him. You have to take on his cap hit and extend it or do something.
Right, because this is the conversation we're having. Second, it goes back to the same thing. I think Denver would prefer Kirk Cousins. I think Denver would prefer Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers first. That would be probably their ideal option. And then let's say the two prospect quarterbacks X and Y. Let's call them, for the sake of this exercise, quarterbacks X and Y.
Yes.
If Denver, all things go wrong, they're going to be drafting one of those two guys. They might have the opportunities to get quarterback X and Y, right? So that's two things, okay? But here's the most important thing, Grant. Denver, we talked about the make or break season for Drew Lock. It's also a make or break season for Vic Fangio, right?
True.
And they have a veteran defense. But here's the thing. If you go and hire the next coach, right, whoever is going to be the next coach for the Denver Broncos, could you see that next coach coming in, looking at the roster and saying that the solution to the entire offense and everything is go get Jimmy Garoppolo? That's where I have big question marks. And if Vic Fangio is not gone and you don't have the next coach, then it's likely that you got something out of Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater that made you make the playoffs. And all of a sudden you have an opportunity, where you might want to run it back with one of them. So to me, like, Denver just seems like, in theory, just because Garoppolo is better than their two quarterbacks they have on their roster, it feels like it fits. But then when you take into account price, you take into account previous quarterback interest, and you take into account just a variety of different things like this coach aspect, like which coach besides Josh McDaniels do you think is going to want to bring in Jimmy Garoppolo as his incumbent starter for the 2022? And there's no way Josh McDaniels is back in Denver. So
no, if you got a new coach, like, you either want Aaron Rodgers or a rookie.
Deshaun Watson. Or a rookie.
Yeah. You don't want Kirk Cousins unless your name's Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah. Or if you're going to go for the Garoppolo route, you want to go for the cheapest guy within that tier. It doesn't matter if Garoppolo is better than Bridgewater. You just want the cheapest guy of those guys, right? It doesn't matter, because Bridgewater's not the future. Garoppolo's not the future. Goff's not the future. Whoever you want to name in that style of quarterback, especially Garoppolo's the best of them, in my opinion. He's better than Goff. He's better than Bridgewater, these guys. I think he's the most starter worthy of those guys. At the same time, I still wouldn't want to walk in Garoppolo at, $15 million, a cushy little price, and be like, all right, Garoppolo, do the Mike Glennon treatment, Andy Dalton this year at $10 million, the Sam Bradford treatment. I wouldn't want to do that. I think that's just bad for your franchise. I think you just want to, if you're not set at the quarterback position in your new regime, you just want the cheapest player possible starting.
So who do you think will be Denver's starting quarterback in 2022? Best guess.
I think Drew Lock is going to have a decent season.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think I like Drew Lock's talent. Now, Drew Lock was really, really bad last year. There's no doubt about it. But I just think there's so much right for him where he can be kind of decent and Denver can make the playoffs. And because he's a young guy in a rookie deal, he might get a chance one more year.
And if it's not him, it's like if Aaron Rodgers forces his way out and wants to move close to the West Coast or something like that.
Right.
So again, we're saying unlikely for Jimmy Garoppolo in Denver Do you think it's a place that he would want to go?
Yeah.
Or would he say no trade for them? I mean, they do have Jerry Jeudy.
Look, Grant. I feel like Garoppolo's no trade. I feel like it's a position of zero power at this point because he might have to just go to a place that's going to give him an opportunity to start, right? Like this notion, I feel like everybody's just somehow bought in for whatever reason. And I see this on Twitter too many times. There's a little bit of, and to be fair, it's also my fault for being on that cesspool and reading these things and, getting aggravated about it. But it almost feels like people are acting like, what's his name? Garoppolo was the quarterback that they just traded up 2 first-round picks and then Lance is just some guy that they picked. No, you don't understand. Like you're talking about like Garoppolo. Somehow people are talking about this as if Garoppolo just has this job set in stone, right? And he's gonna just walk in and it's like a birthright for him. It's a birthright for him. But and it's actually aggravated me a little bit because it's a little hypocritical because the guy's played 32 games in his career with the Niners, but somehow with him, he's earned every single thing that's come to him when, a Jaquiski Tartt who had an all-pro type season in 2017 has a couple more injury-filled years and fans are ready to replace him, even though he's played at a level that Garoppolo's never played at his position. Jimmy Ward, another guy, had some injuries and people were ready to replace him. And he was a little more inconsistent, but yeah, I mean, so it aggravates me from that standpoint too. I just think it's unfair, but yeah, like I think that it's very important that this conversation be had, to be honest with you, because again, I'm going to keep repeating it until it sets into people's brain. When you trade 2 first-round picks, swap a third one, and trade a third-round pick to go get a quarterback within the top 5 of the draft, and you do it 1 month before the draft so that you have the right to study 2 more quarterbacks in depth so you can eventually make a decision on who you're picking, that means that guy's you want that guy to be your starting quarterback. You don't draft him so that you can develop him 2 years from now. Right.
You really don't want Jimmy Garoppolo.
You don't want him.
Yeah. Okay, so before we move on, I wanted to ask you at the end of the Washington one, who do you think Washington's quarterback will be in 2022? It's a tough one.
That's so hard.
That's a tough one.
Because like Denver, I said Drew Lock, right? But then I'm also thinking maybe Rodgers won't end up wanting to go there. But like if Rodgers is there, then it's Rodgers, or wherever Watson goes, it's Watson, whatever. Sure. So I think that Washington football team's quarterback, I'm going to say rookie.